unacceptable remarks. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari also condemned the dangerous and hurtful comments emanating from these irresponsible leaders of India's ruling party. Foreign Secretary Sohail Mahmood individually met the envoys of P5 countries and also held a meeting with the OIC ambassadors in Islamabad to apprise them of the matter and to register Pakistan's strong concern at the sharp increase in Islamophobia and targeting of Muslims in India. Pakistan has underscored that BJP's perfunctory and token disciplinary action against those individuals
हर मौसम में मेरा चेहरा रहे बिना चिपचिप।
The government must clearly condemn the actions of the responsible BJP officials and hold them to account through decisive and demonstrable action. That may be a big ask in today's saffronized India, but this is the least that is being expected of them. This is important because it is not about an isolated incident. There are continuing concerns, serious concerns, about the alarming rise in Islamophobia and communal violence and hatred directed against Muslims and other minorities in India who are being systematically stigmatized, marginalized, and subjected to a well-orchestrated onslaught from radical Hindu mobs with full connivance and support of the security apparatus across various states in India. Regrettably, the Indian state machinery has remained aloof to the desperate calls for assistance by the local Muslim and minority communities across the country, including Sikhs, Christians and Dalits. Ladies and gentlemen, in clear contrast, while India persisted with its reprehensible campaign of saffronization, resulting in victimization and persecution of Muslims and other minorities, Pakistan, in line with its policy of promoting interfaith harmony and religious tolerance, has issued over 160 visas to Sikh pilgrims from India on the eve of Martyrdom Day of Guru Arjan Dev Ji to participate in the annual festival being held in Pakistan from 8th to 17th of June. During the visit, the pilgrims would inter alia go to the Panja Sahib, Nankana Sahib and Kartarpur Sahib. We welcome the Yatris and wish them a spiritually fulfilling and enjoyable stay in Pakistan. Ladies and gentlemen, coming over to the first visit to Pakistan earlier during the week by German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock on the invitation of Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. During the delegation level talks, the two sides had an extensive exchange of views on various aspects of bilateral relations, with a special focus on enhancing cooperation in the fields of trade and investment, climate change and renewable energy. In the regional context, Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari stressed the need for the international community to come together to address the dire humanitarian situation in Afghanistan. On Ukraine, the Foreign Minister reiterated Pakistan's principled position for immediate cessation of hostilities and for a solution to the conflict through dialogue and diplomacy. The Foreign Minister also drew attention to the serious human rights violations in IIOJK, the rising tide of Islamophobia across India, and risks posed by these developments to regional peace and security. Unfortunately, Foreign Minister Baerbock had to cut her trip short after testing positive for COVID. We wish her good health and look forward to continuing strong collaboration and future high-level interactions between the two countries. On 8th June, the Ambassador of Iran called on Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. The Prime Minister thanked Iran for its timely assistance in controlling forest fire in Balochistan. The Ambassador of Iran reiterated felicitations from the Iranian leadership to the Prime Minister on assumption of office and reaffirmed commitment to enhance bilateral cooperation in all areas of mutual interest. Ladies and gentlemen, on the public diplomacy front, yesterday, Pakistan and Azerbaijan celebrated 30th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations with a joint photo exhibition at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs showcasing our strong bilateral relations rooted in shared faith and value systems, also manifest in frequent high-level exchanges between the two countries. On 5th June, Pakistan joined the international community in celebrating the World Environment Day, and on 8th June we commemorated the World Oceans Day, appreciating national efforts to counter marine pollution and promote sustainable use of ocean resources. Coming over to the situation in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. In the continuing senseless spate of extrajudicial killings by Indian occupation forces, 5 more innocent Kashmiri youth, including a student, have been martyred in Baramulla, Kupwara and Shopian areas in the past week. During the same period, dozens of Kashmiri youth have been arrested and summoned in army camps and police stations in fake coordinate search operations, defying all international norms that guarantee civil, political and human rights and the remedies available to people in case of violations. India is continuing to expose its naked agenda that seeks to marginalize its minorities by physically exterminating them, psychologically undermining their spirit and obliterating their identity, all while attempting to obfuscate the ugly communal facade that lurks under the umbrella of its so-called secular and democratic credentials. Ladies and gentlemen, India can fool no one but itself. Its actions stand totally exposed. Therefore, it would be well advised to halt forthwith the gross and systematic persecution of Kashmiris in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, seize the use of state terrorism as a policy tool, and let the people of IIOJK determine their own future through a free and impartial plebiscite under the UN auspices as enshrined in the relevant UN Security Council resolutions. Pakistan also reminds the international community of its obligations and reiterates its call to hold India accountable for its gross and systematic violations of human rights in IIOJK. Before I conclude, let me also update you on Ukraine. Pakistan Embassy has shifted back to Kiev on 31st May and remains available for all services to Pakistani nationals in Ukraine and to conduct diplomatic functions to advance our bilateral relations with Ukraine. You would recall that due to the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, the embassy had to move to Ternopil, from where it facilitated evacuation of over 1,500 Pakistani nationals, including students. I am ready to take your questions. Yes, madam.
Thank you, sir. So my question is related to Foreign Minister's visit. During his visit, it has been reported that Foreign Minister in his meeting with Secretary Blinken gave an assurance on India's bid for UNSC membership. Has any such assurance been given? And so my second question also, please, about the Pakistani citizen who has been indicted in Saudi Arabia with 3 years imprisonment and 10,000 Saudi riyal. Would you like to confirm this? Thank you so much.
Thank you. On your first question, I understand you are referring to some rumors and speculative reporting about Pakistan's position on Indian bid for permanent membership of the UN Security Council. Now, let me tell you that this is totally baseless and absolute fiction. We categorically reject any such statement that is being wrongly attributed to the Foreign Minister. Let me also state that no discussion on this issue took place during the Foreign Minister's meeting with Secretary Blinken in New York. On this issue, Pakistan's position on the reform of the UN Security Council is clear, consistent, and unambiguous. Together with its other partners in the Uniting for Consensus group, Pakistan is opposed in principle to any expansion in the permanent membership of the Security Council. There is no change whatsoever in that policy. Pakistan supports a comprehensive reform of the Security Council that would make the Council more democratic, more representative, more transparent, effective, and more accountable to the wider membership of the United Nations. We support a reformed Security Council that corresponds to the interests of the large majority of member states and not just a few. Expansion in the permanent category of membership does not conform to these principles of reform. We believe that expansion in the non-permanent category with periodic elections and rotation is the best way of achieving a more representative and accountable Security Council in line with contemporary democratic ideals. With regard to your other question, I think this is related to a judgment that has been reported. And we have been informed by our mission in Saudi Arabia. Basically, this is an announcement that has been made. This person has been indicted because of social media use related to that incident that took place in the Holy Mosque, and it is not related to those individuals who were involved in hooliganism during.
इस्लामाबाद में तर्जुमान दफ्तर खारजा आसिम इफ्तिखार हफ्तावार मीडिया ब्रीफिंग दे रहे थे। उन्होंने कहा कि भारत में मुसलमानों पर अरसा हयात तंग करने के लिए रियासती मशीनरी इस्तेमाल की जा रही है। बीजेपी रहनुमाओं के बयानात से मुसलमानों के जज्बात मजरूह हुए। भारत मुसलमानों और दीगर अक़लियतों के खिलाफ मजालिम जारी रखे हुए है। पाकिस्तान ने आलमी सतह पर इंसानी हकूक़ की पामालियों को उजागर किया है।